Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, and we're doing it from a neoclassical perspective. That means each time we ask ourselves what happened today, what might it tell us about the coming ones. We do the show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube, and it's under the channel LA Little. If you haven't subscribed and you want to, just reach up in the right-hand corner. Do so anytime I push content. You get a notification. As far as what did happen today, let's take a look at the numbers. And let's grab the numbers here. All right, let's see what we got. So we got gold down slightly, silver up slightly. All had a nice day up, 2.5%. Bonds slightly up. And then you were slightly down across all the indexes. Elsewhere, overseas, we had catch-up taking place over in Asia, 2.5%, 1.5% higher. And if we look at Europe, they did hold higher, although that CAC continues to struggle. If we look at the actual indexes here, what we're going to see is the dog days of summer. I mean, these things are dead now. And so the volume you did today, you know, what do we do here? 33.2. Friday was 36. I mean, you got to go back to here somewhere to get some volume, 54. If we look over on the weekly, right, if you're doing 32 and just to project that out, that's about 1.5. You did 1.8 last week. And when you're doing some decent volume, you're up there around 2.5. So a long way away in terms of the volume and what kind of volume we're getting or not getting. And as far as the markets, it's the dog days of summer, right? It's everybody's off their desk and everybody's elsewhere doing something else. So you get an over and under. You just came out of a range. So let's kind of dissect this here while we're together. Let's see now. So the first thing you look at, and I talked about, I think, this last night, you got a bullish retest regenerate setting up. That price point on that swing point high was 2175.63. You come in at 2177. You're going to hit into that tomorrow, and then we're going to find out if the buyers swoop back in. I expect they will. Will it come all the way down to the lows? That is the highest probability, right? That it shouldn't stop at the top. It should try to trade down to the lows. And if so, that would be an interesting point, because as it does that, you're back into that full range. And you're going to get some people start saying, oh, well, we're going to get some sort of a retrace here, right? Well, that may be true, but also think about it a different way. And let me actually clean this up before we do it. What you may actually end up seeing now is, if we get that set up, right, is that you get this little A to B, the little pullback into here somewhere, right, which sets up the move to do what? To finish off a nested ABCD structure. If it turns out that way, that would finish off this big structure that's been waiting to finish off at 2195. And so what you may see is some sort of a little nested ABCD that actually gets us to that mark that this market's been working on now for, what is this, May? This is all the way, or actually that was June, so it's been working on it for 3 months to get to that price point. So anyway, that looks like potentially the setup. I would not be surprised at all to see this thing trade back into that swing point high tomorrow, probably off the opening, and then we'll see how deep it wants to get. And let's see what we got elsewhere, if anything worth mentioning. I'm going to go to the NASDAQ. Over under there too, less volume. Now this one is a little different, right? Because, and this is actually a stronger signal if you're looking for some sort of a reversal, because here you've actually had a extended move, right? So in other words, when we took off here, we really haven't had but that one setback right there since, right? And that degree, that angle of ascent, if you do about a 45-degree angle, it looks like that. That's pushing about 70 or so, 68 or something. Vertical here is 90. So yeah, it's probably about 65, maybe 60, 65. And so that angle of ascent is pretty steep, and now you get the over-under, right? You could say it's a 2-bar. I probably wouldn't say it's a 2-bar because you had enough of a pause here to keep that from happening, but it is an over-under. That one also should try and retrace. Let's see about the NDX. Probably going to look about the same, and it does. Let me see. They didn't get over, though. 47.94, 14. Yeah, didn't get over. So NDX different. NDX is an inside bar, tells you nothing. And finally, let's look at the Russell. Now I think the Russell did over and under as well, and it did. Don't have the volumes yet, but that was an over-under. So it looks to me like you're going to see potentially a little small pullback trying to take place. Let's look at the internals here. I haven't done this in a while, so we'll do it real quickly together and just see what we see in terms of the sectors. And I'm just going to kind of pop through these and see if anything really looks interesting. So IBB had quite a run, gets over the swing points, gets over them on a weekly. I'll throw the weeklies up here too as we look through this. And gets over it, so it's going to try to retrace back. That's a bullish retest regen. And here would be the same thing if and when it comes back. ITB, so this is the builders. And that one looks like it's already doing the retest regen bullish. Now, this one's going to be the first time back in 6 bars. Usually that's a pretty good sign if it comes back into that price point. 28.35, pretty good sign in the sense that you actually want to buy it. Oh, look at that. So it's actually touched it once already. That was the buy right there, 28.35 on the penny. That one and this one gets you the push back up. That's exactly what it should do. Now it fails as it comes back into the ledge and back into the top of this bar, and going to pull back and try again. So the first two I look at here look like they're trying to retrace. IYT, transports, and really nothing there. I don't see anything to tell me anything there. Let's look at the next one. Actually, that was the IYR. Here's the transports. And transports, yeah, that's just a mess. And they've been a mess for a long time. SOX, now the SOX had pushed up, got a little pullback. Now they're pushing up again, get another under over. And at this price point, that one also looks like it wants to come back in. So that's 3 out of the 4 I've looked at. Here's the basic materials. Basic materials still look pretty strong, and they do again tonight. So basic materials still trying to push. If we look at the XLE, got a nice push today on it. Remember we had that reversal back here, that hammer reversal, kind of a pickaxe reversal, but that got the juice underneath this thing. You had oil up today, that pushed some more juice into it, and XLE looks like it can actually trade a little bit higher. Financials got over the ledge as well, and they hold today, so financials probably still can push a little bit more, at least hold. And if we look at the industrials, don't look bad. Industrials could go either way. Nothing there. It's a little doji and nothing significant it's going into. XLK, that one also is an under over. So again, could get a pullback. It's an extended move. That one you could almost argue a 2-bar on. XLU, really nothing there. That one also looks like it's ready to try and retrace. And let's see what else. The XL. Oh, that was the XLP I did. Let me get the XLU. Yeah, the XLU. That one not as clear. So you get under 50.70. That one actually looks like a reversal back to the upside, which would also fit in with the ideal here that potentially we're going to get some sort of pullback. In other words, the utilities are trade counter trend right now. XLV also trying to pull back a little bit more. And finally, if we look at the discretionary, that one's a little bit less clear. Don't have the test yet. Looks like it'll probably try to test tomorrow. So, you know, most of these sectors look the same. So I kind of think that we're going to see some sort of an attempt to pull it back tomorrow. Probably set up that ABCD structure nested to try to take it higher later in the week. That's what it looks like there. I got one stock, so stay with me here, and I'll do an analysis on it if you'd like to see how the neoclassical works. Viewer sends this one in, asks me what I think. They're looking at it on an intermediate term time frame. It's in the housing sector. It's let's see what the symbol is, LGIH, which is LGI Homes. Okay, so the question is on an intermediate term time frame, what's the odds of this thing breaking to the top side? And so when you're doing the analysis, what you're looking for is something significant. And if we look at this, you know, you've got these bars here. These 3 bars were fairly significant. these are three black crows basically on the way down. And a lot of times what happens is you go all the way back and try to test that top, and that's exactly what it did. Now, what it did also on that test, though, in this particular case, is it actually had more volume than it did on that prior high. So that says it can be tested again. Doesn't mean it will break, but it says, hey, there's a good chance this thing's going to come back and test again. Now, if we look inside that and say, what does that volume look like up there? It actually ends up being a same price point on the bar prior to 36.44, 36.44. The volume all is on that bar, and then you get the pullback, right? So the bad news is that what you really have is a decent chance that that was volume off the top, which means that more than likely you're not going to go back up there anytime soon. And then you get the little breakaway here, right, with a little volume expansion. So, you know, going back to the question is, what do I think this thing's going to do? Is it going to be able to break that out? I think there's an okay chance that it may test it, but I don't think I'd be putting my money on a retest right now. And earnings are tomorrow is what the viewer told me. If we look inside this, I'm looking to see if we have an ABCD structure, and it looks like that is from here to there, right? Then back down and then back up. And so if I do the off-the-cuff calculations, I want to see if it's done is what I'm really looking for. 19 bucks up to about 29, so about 10.75 onto that gets me about 33, 34 and a half. Hit it. Done. Been there, done that. I think this one's not going to break out. You may get the test, but it probably is going to fail if it does. Looks to me like this is not the place to expect the breakout. If you want to trade this thing, you want to be bullish on it, which is what I read from the notes and the question. You got to let this thing break. You got to let it get up there, get over it. Prove that it can get over it. You can't buy it a priori. You can't buy in front of it, right? You got to see it break out before you take the trade. That's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for joining me. As always, I ask you to tell a friend or tell two. It's through you that we grow, that people learn about neoclassical, and it's through the site that we really teach. And if you're really interested in what I do and how I do it, you know, think about joining us. It's a very cheap rate, especially for what you get. So you just hit the Get Started button, check it out. That's it for tonight. Have a great one. I'll see you next time. Take care. Good night, folks.